Hey guys, welcome to the rollout. I'm Lindsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome.
You are watching the Fabled 42 Network, where we create community through friendship, gaming, and chaos. Big shout out to our sponsors, Griffin Co., for all of our 3D printed terrain and for Critical Dice. So make sure you tune in later for Realms of Ugador because we will be doing some sweet, sweet dice giveaways for you. All right, little news.
Okay, so if the world doesn't already know because of their huge marketing campaign, the Snyder Cut of the Justice League is coming out tomorrow. It is 4 hours long, apparently.
I mean, come on, that's how long our streams are. So it's like D&D for 4 hours, Snyder Cut for 4 hours.
Watch our streams for 4 hours.
Do that instead.
Do that, yes. As an alternative, do that instead. And it's going to have such gems as Jared Leto's Joker, who's making an appearance. There's many more things out there, but the long and the short of it is it's coming out tomorrow on March 18th to HBO Max. And if that is 4 hours of your quarantine that you want to spend watching that, you can.
There you go. No, I mean, honestly, no judgment.
Maybe of course not. God,
maybe a little judgment. But obviously, things are starting to reopen. Movie theaters are opening up at some capacity, and some cons are starting to reopen. So Gen Con 2021 has rescheduled a little bit. It's being postponed to September 16th through the 19th. It's going to kind of be this hybrid event. So they're going to have capped attendance. They're going to be running simultaneous live and streamed events at local game stores, and they're going to have some pop-up retail activations, which sounds kind of cool. The UK Games Expo is still hoping to go from July 30th to August 1st. They're still not quite sure how things are going because the rollout hasn't gone the way they thought it was going to go. So things are up in the air. Oh, look at that.
She said it. She said the title.
She said that. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, there's a method in there. So just keep posted. But as with everything this year, and now this year, I guess, things are changing, but cons they're making a comeback. So yay. All right.
Right.
I know, because you can't keep a good con down. Speaking of that, we are so excited to have two of the folks from Board Game Geek here today. We have got Lincoln Damerst and Nikki Pontius. I'm going to say your name wrong.
Pontius.
Yeah, there it is. Nikki Pontius.
Slowly,
yes.
Slowly.
I can do this. I can talk. I talk well. And I say this because everyone messes up my name too. So I apologize. It's
no worries
to me that names are pronounced properly.
We're just a room full of people with difficult names.
Right.
We're in good company.
Right? Welcome, guys. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourselves real quick, and then we'll dive into some fun things to talk about.
You start, Nikki.
What do I want to say? You go.
No, go ahead.
We do
game night.
Game night. And board game date night too.
Game night, date night. Come on, somebody's got to get the name right. I know.
Caught off guard.
Yes.
And for Board Game Geek, we've been doing it for
8 years, over about 8.5 years of game night.
Yeah.
And then
streaming. Now we're
doing
streaming
live stream on Twitch as well.
On Twitch. And we watch Tweet Twitch.
Well, I really got you off guard, didn't I?
I'm totally.
Okay, I should always prep you.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm the director of media for BGG, and I've been with full-time with BGG for just over 4 years. 3 years. And it's, this last year was supposed to be a big year of like pushing new projects, and I was going to be traveling the whole year, and then March 13th it was over, and no traveling, and I barely left this house for the last year now, so it's pretty weird. But we have been able to do some new projects lately. It's been fun. Lots of still good stuff going on, but missing seeing people, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
This is the extent of seeing people here, seeing people on the screens.
Yeah. Well, all that being said,
that was sad.
I know. I was like, well, because and that's something we've talked about quite a bit on this show with some, different with game developers and things like that. Is that we all love gaming, and a lot of the reasons people get into gaming is for the community aspect of it. You're sitting around a table, you're interacting with people. And obviously that's had to transition this past year, as those of us who weren't already online have, brought gaming online. What are some of the, because you guys are board games, obviously. So what are some of the challenges and then maybe innovations that happened over the past year or so as you had to?
Absolutely. Well, number one is we introduced we'd actually been wanting to do game night, date night for a long time. It's just focus on 2-player games or games with 2 players. And, we were just so busy, we never had the time. And the staying at home, made us have the time. We had prepared, we always shoot a lot of episodes, but we had prepared, especially because I knew that I was going to be gone a lot last year. And so we had episodes with the regular groups, the varying players, but till August, I think at some point in time. So we had a lot of episodes.
A lot in the can.
And then we had to start doing, because we still do the weekly show on Thursdays, but we just picked that back, started doing game night, date night, and then figuring out using new software. Initially, we were using software from Livestream when we did our convention coverage. We would be at Gen Con or Spiel, and we will live stream the new releases. So we were using this software from Livestream for the last few years. And then we transitioned, because of people needing to call in, we transitioned to a much more powerful and expensive program system called vMix. And that allows us to have a bunch of callers. And it's been pretty great. It's pretty solid. And we have, thankfully, at where we live, we have gigabit fiber. So we're able to host a lot. We've done some streaming events. We did streaming for Comic-Con, showing new games, and we did Gen Con and Spiel and our events. So we were able to do all that. We have the games here. And then what ended up happening was Nikki and I ended up being the hands. So we had the down shot of the game, everything set up, because we had the room and enough people to do it with just the 2 of us. And then we did that. And then we'd have publisher guests come on with one of our hosts. And so that we would be following along, and sometimes we'd play the game. So that was a lot of different kind of things happening, and way more, lots and lots of software stuff and technological shifts. It's crazy, because we streamed. We actually, Scott wanted us to stream more regularly on Twitch. So we started the beginning of the year streaming. What was that game called? The Wilson Wolf Affair. It's a puzzle hunt game. Yeah. And we did that with our regular guest Dave Arnott and Deborah Ann Wall, and we did that for I think 4 streams, mostly every 2 weeks while I was away. I was timing it so I could be in town, because I started traveling right at the beginning of the year, and then we were getting ready to do another thing with Dave and Deborah. And that was going to be the 17th, I think, of March. And so that got canceled. And we just started streaming with basically game night, day night idea. It was just Nikki and I playing 2-player games. So it's been definitely a weird year. We are definitely looking forward to hopefully seeing people this year. It would be really nice if people can get vaccinated.
So when we play, it's either just the 2 of us playing, or we try to pick games where the audience can play along with us. So a lot of the roll and writes and the card game flip and write ones can work online, as long as other players can download the sheet or play on their iPad or something like that.
But we don't do any virtual. I mean, we've played some virtual games on Board Game Arena and Tabletop Simulator and stuff like that a little bit, but we don't generally do that because I'm just not that intrigued by it. It's, for whatever reason, doesn't scratch that itch for me, which is a bummer, for sure.
Yeah. But those platforms have really bloomed in this environment. Sure. So we have a lot of people and friends that are always on there playing board games on there and uploading. Some of the platforms let you upload the game yourself to play, and then just do invites only and things like that too. So what Board Game Arena and Tabletop
Simulator and Tabletopia.
Tabletopia.
But there's also that Vorpal. Have you guys seen Vorpal? That it's
we actually are partnered with Vorpal. We used to use them for our streams early on, but they're much better for our home games rather than Twitch streaming, because Twitch just
I just like that you can add it as you need it, which is a lot better than building it all before you get started, because we have a friend that has done that with all the games that she's into, where she will she's built crazy games. I can't believe
Yeah.
all the components that she's built to play games online with her friend. But what are you going to do? It's definitely a tough time.
Crazy, but it works.
Yeah,
it
for
works,
sure.
For her to play along with her friends. And
Yep.
then we do board games that people can't really play with us, but they enjoy watching us. And we always joke about, like, we have what is that, point system or whatever. So if you turn
the bits
60
on,
points,
on
you tell us what
our,
move we should
we're
do.
always paranoid about that, though, just because we're afraid that they'll have us play some game that we just could never wade through, especially on stream.
Or
oh my
like
gosh.
choose our next move in
Yeah.
whatever game we've decided to play.
Right.
But yeah, really the roll and writes are the best ones to have people play along and be interactive. Is a lot of fun.
Well, that being said, what are some of the games that you are loving to play right now? Or,
Well, go ahead and start with one there. I know that she asked, can we talk about that one?
I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Boom.
Yeah.
The one I'm really looking forward to is the Aliens game that's coming out called Fate of Promo. Yeah.
From Ravensburger, yeah.
From Ravensburger, and it's a co-op. And I was just looking at the little minis and stuff. They're super cool. I cannot wait to play anything with aliens trademark
big fan.
on it. Let's do it. I'm good for it.
Well,
so
the
that
ones
one
that-
sounded great.
The one that we actually really started just playing at the beginning of the month, maybe in the end of February, was Sleeping Gods, the new Ryan Lockett game from Red Raven Games. And it is a fantastic sandbox game. That's a board game. And it's Scott, the owner of BGG, first was like, he kickstarted it and backed it with extra copies and then sent us a copy so that we could do it on the show. And it's phenomenal. The thing is I really want to play it with Scott because he enjoys those games a lot. And he had played it on his own and hadn't even bumped into anything except one tiny piece that we did, because he just went in a different direction than we did. And it's this big, really awesome open box thing. It's out to Kickstarters now, but it's coming to retail like next month, I think. So it's really fantastic and worth the effort to play it. I heard some people complain about the storytelling, but I thought the storytelling that we were encountering was really fun, really neat idea. Because you're a crew of this ship and you're in
you end up some alternate
kind
of reality.
But what is the name of the
floating sea or something like that?
The Wandering Sea. Wandering Sea. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And we haven't played it for a couple weeks, but we're dying to play it again. And I don't know how much somebody asked on our YouTube video about it. Will you continue with this? I'm like, well, we already did on Twitch, and we'll put it. We do the same thing. We put them up on YouTube after we're done and stuff like that.
That one's got spoilers though.
Absolutely.
Even though you can choose different ways of going along in the story path, you kind of are revealing some of the story plot points as you go along. So we don't like to go through the whole entire game when it's like that, because everyone else should play it and find their own adventure. But we keep getting asked to play it, and it's fun, and it's hard to say no to sitting down and playing that one. And I enjoy those sorts of games where it's a storyline that you're following, because it's almost like you're being told a story, you're being read a story. It's a lot of fun to play those types of games.
Yeah,
right.
I love games that are very story heavy, very story driven. I mean, I guess you could always, before you start each stream or each video, you can just be like,
yeah, we do. Spoilers abound here. Be careful,
Just like have like a little.
I mean, there's many people that don't mind that, but there's some people that really get frustrated when you do that. And I totally understand that. So, I mean, I don't want to be spoiled necessarily. I avoid social media whenever there's anything coming out that I want to watch. We were watching the WandaVision stuff, and we didn't watch them till Sundays. And so we just did not get on social media at all until after Sunday, because we did not want to be spoiled on anything. I really do like to see it all without too much knowledge what's happening.
I'll watch things with spoilers in it to see if I want to engage with the material.
Sure.
Sometimes, I mean, players like you, like influencers like you, are sometimes the reason why I will get a game or why I'll play something, because I see a little bit of a preview of what it could be or something, and it's like, oh my gosh, I must play this thing. So a lot of I feel so Gen Z right now, but a lot of the things that I will purchase nowadays is because of other gamers.
Yeah, seeing it for sure. I mean, we're influenced by that as well, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's someone you follow and generally speaking, you like what they like, then you end up following them because you know their taste is kind of the same as yours, and
oh yeah,
and you won't go wrong, kind of.
Right. And especially if there's somebody, because a lot of the times, like, viewer, peer to peer, it feels almost like somebody that you can trust. Like it's just like I like what you've said about games before, and I trust your judgment on what you have to say and your experiences, so I feel safer purchasing this product, because I mean, games are so expensive. They're so expensive, and that's the thing too, is that when you go out to buy a game, you're going to be dropping upwards of $40 to $60 to $80 depending on what it is. And
if you're lucky, I mean,
that's games, like at the starter set.
Yes, it's like the Sleeping Gods is, I think, like $80, and there's an expansion right off the bat. There's a full. It doesn't change the game. It just extends the story, right? So it doesn't change mechanics, which is fantastic. I appreciate that, but that pushes it over $100. But to me, it's worth it because it's definitely hours and hours and hours of play, right? Which encourages you to return. That's what I like about campaign style stuff. Anyway, when we were young, we played a lot of D&D, and that has informed our board game life as well, for sure. Mm-hmm. I like being drawn back in. I mean, I love plenty of Euro style play it once, not just once, but you play it once and you're done. And we definitely want to return to that game, but story-driven games are really fantastic, really.
Yeah.
And it's coming into a pretty golden age of that kind of stuff.
Oh, it really is. And it's just such an opportunity for replay and storytelling and so many different things. And, for the usually like you relied on your friendly local game store for those types of things. In the past, you go in, you're like, hey, what's new? What could and they know you. But now we do have the internets that can also help inform us. And like, obviously people like you guys and Board Game Geek, that are such a really helpful source of information, because there's so much content out there. I mean, Genevieve and I are covering new Kickstarters every week, and there's literally there's like 100 new Kickstarters every day for board games alone. And it's just,
it is a huge component of the board game industry now. It's kind of it's shifted the focus so that it isn't necessarily the designer that is driving a lot of sales anymore. You know what I mean? There's plenty of great designers that have been doing games for decades that still do great work, but unless they're on Kickstarter, they might not get the attention that they kind of rightly deserve. There's some, sadly, some. I know right now, speaking with publishers, it's not anything even to do with Kickstarter. It's just that people, because of the pandemic, there have been people that are buying the classics. So tons of sales of things like Catan and Ticket to Ride, which is great. I mean, it's also introducing, I'm sure a lot of those people are new gamers. So that's fantastic as well. The more, the merrier, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that being said,
Ticket to Ride.
What are some things that you've seen, because like I know, like I've literally just backed like 3 or 4 new games this past month alone that look really interesting on Kickstarter, but is there anything that you guys have been keeping your eye on that you're really looking forward to?
Well, we just did that will be next week's, if everything goes well. We did just did Chronicles of Crime 1400, which is available now. Although I don't think it's in retail, you can order it from Lucky Dog, but they also did the 1900 and the 2400 boxes, which are finished. The Kickstarters have been delivered. They have the games, but the apps are not ready for those games. But 1400 is available, and we played that last weekend. And we love Chronicles of Crime. It is absolutely spoiler. You can't really replay those games. It's an experience, and they thankfully have DLC for that game, so that because if you've seen that game, everything is a character with a QR code, and it's generic. You don't know, there's no name. So it can be anybody in each campaign. And you go through it and you're trying to solve the crime, and you have how much information you many people you talk to, how many items you have to look at, how many locations you go to, push you further in the day or days, and so that affects your overall score. But it's a really great experience. And the neat thing about it is it's app driven. So you have the phone, and it's Google Cardboard compatible, which I guess they just dumped Cardboard. But anyway, you put it in, you look around at locations, and then you describe what you're seeing to everybody. And then there's this deck of cards that you're pulling out that are generic categories for like books or whatever. I see books, I see potions, I see bottles, I see a weapon and all these things. And so then you dig it up, and then you scan each thing, and then it tells you whether it's important. It's really a really great system. It's from Lucky Duck, designed by David Sicurel, and oh boy, the designer, Wojciech Grajowski or something. I'm usually pretty good with names, but for some reason that one was a little tough. And it's really, Wojciech has been doing the new stuff. The original game was designed by David Sicurel, but it's really fantastic. And it's it's kind of a sandbox thing too. It does need an app to continue it. You need the app to play it, but it does need the app can give you DLC to just keep going with that type of campaign. And this is the third self-contained thing, because the first ones, I believe, the first one had like 4 campaigns plus whatever DLC. Then they had Noir, which was, like 1930s, 1940s, 1950s storytelling. And then this new one that takes place in 1400. The next one will be in 1900. And then the next one after that in 2400. So it's kind of exciting to see how what they're doing with all that. Really cool game.
That sounds really.
You've not heard of that one?
That one I haven't. No.
Yeah, you should go. We did a game night for that 2 years ago for the very first one.
Okay.
And you should check it out, because I
was
pretty proud of myself technologically, because I was able to we had the app captured, and then we had the app captured when you're looking around, and I was able to get all that to work, and it turned out really, really neat. So you could see how it works. We actually did the tutorial in this one, so people could watch just the tutorial to see if they want to spoil any more, because the tutorial is basic, right? Although it's a pretty good, it wasn't done fast, I'll tell you that. I do feel that it took us at least 45 minutes, and we'd already done it.
It's still saying, okay, now that you did this is the next thing you're supposed to do.
Which was good. It's really good. But we had played that on the live stream, because we played the basic one, and then we were like, wow, this is great. We could probably do this with people remotely, and so we did. So we had the guest, our guest, on with their phone, and we were just keeping up. So I was doing a lot of like scan like of QR codes, and letting the guest scan as well. We had a green screen, so it was right up front, so they could just take the picture off the screen. And so we were basically able to keep it in sync so that we could look at locations. If sadly there were only 3 locations, or maybe only 2 in that one. I think actually there was one in the tutorial, and one and 2 in the main game. So Nikki got gypped. She didn't actually get
I would like more rooms to look around at, but it's still cool.
It is really great.
It sounds like you guys wear a lot of hats.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You have to, don't you? I mean, that's how it all works.
It really is.
Now that everything is remote, again, and let's make that our next question. So like, how much, like, do you have to do it all now? Like, do you have to monitor the chat and like
sort of
the angles and the video,
so we have a definitely established setup for sure. It's our game night live is very similar to just the camera setups and stuff for our regular show. So we have, our studio is fully like, we used to have it in our dining area over here, and I got tired of banging it into the tripods and stuff like that, light stands. And so we decided to make this whole room that was just all set up. So it's everything to go. We have the machines there, but so Derek Porter is basically our live producer. He might sometimes participate, but often he's just running, like you have Chris here, just running the event.
Camera angles.
Yeah, and the switching, and and the machine is in our studio. The vMix machine is in our studio. So he's remote desktoping in, and then using a Stream Deck to cut to angles. So it's very similar to what we do for for our regular game night, but more like our regular live streaming stuff for conventions, where we're cutting to people talking, then cutting to the overhead, then cutting to a down shot, so you can see like dimension of some of the pieces if there are things like that. And then we have regular people on but we mostly monitor it will be Scott and Nikki and myself, and then Derek sometimes. He's not always on even vocally, but on camera, but he'll let us know that something's going on or stuff like that. Let us know in our ears. So it's actually a treat to go back and just shoot a game night, because we're like, oh, we don't have to have this on. We don't have to pay attention to that. And so it's weird, but it's definitely a lot more juggling, and eye lines are different, right? I like just looking at the other people, but when there's only two of us in the studio, we look at each other, so we're not looking at the camera ever. We at least have somebody looking at the camera generally in the regular game night setup. So it's all a little bit different, but everybody understands what's going on. So
I think they've, especially now that we're like a year in, and I think that online is here to stay, like in some form or another. We are going to go back to our tables, but I think now we can play with people who aren't in the same city as us and things like that. And yeah.
Well, there were people that were doing it before, and we knew about Tabletop Simulator, but I'm like, I was so busy. I'm in front of my computer all the time. I don't take a lot of time to jump in front of the computer to continue to do more things. But we do play some computer games occasionally and stuff like that. So, you end up being in front of computers a lot. It's I'm sure all of our vision is worse after this year. I mean, we're just looking at the improperly illuminated, weird, it's the worst. And looking at my devices is ridiculous. My eyes are, I stop looking at the device. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been on there too long. Sure. It's bad.
I mean, eye fatigue, Zoom fatigue, it's all a thing now.
For sure. Were you saying it?
You're saying overcooked and stuff after. So then we're like on the other game consoles playing that.
Right.
Yep. With friends from in Germany and stuff. So it's weird for sure.
But I was thinking about that the other night. So there's always like some kind of screen in front of my face.
I know.
This is horrible.
Well, we watched a lot more TV. We've been streaming shows we didn't see and shows we wanted to check out again, just nostalgic for something older or whatever, and way more TV than I basically stopped watching TV when I was 18 or 19, very much, just very, very rarely. And then Nikki and I, when we got together, I actually did get cable. I watched discs and things because I was way into DVDs and stuff like that.
Laser
discs. And so I liked all that stuff, but then we got cable, and so we paid attention to some more things, but it's mostly DVR. I mean, things that we're interested in, we'll watch them on DVR, but it's weird now. I've watched way more television in the last year than I've watched in the last 20 years for sure. We are always sitting down to some show for when we eat to catch up, not even catch up, because there's not that many news shows that we're watching. We watched went through Arrested Development again recently, and powered through that. And we watched 2 or 3 in a sitting, so it doesn't last that long, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, so all that being said, because we all love games here. So you guys came on pretty late, but how exactly did Board Game Geeks come to be formed? Because the website is just such a huge resource. Like, I'm always on there looking for different updates and stuff. And then obviously all the YouTube shows and your Twitch streams and everything, how did all of that come to be?
Well, actually, so Scott Alden and Dirk Solko created the website 21 years ago in last January, essentially. So they, and that's how we found it, right? Yeah. We played Catan in 2002, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because literally we started a game night in the late 90s, and it lasted about 3 months, and then it completely morphed into LAN gaming. So we all had we had people leaving their computers at our house and playing every weekend at least once. And but then about a year and a half later, a friend of ours brought one of the games that I had seen at the time when we were doing the board games, and it was Catan. And we freaked out, played it immediately again after we played it, and then did the research. And so we've been doing that for a while. And then we went to BGG Con in 2006. Our friend Dave, who's he's an actor, but he also does puzzle hunts with a fellow named Aaron Weisblum, really great game designer. And they had been doing puzzle hunts for this gaming convention called the Gathering of Friends that the designer of Ticket to Ride, Alan Moon, runs. And so the guys at BGG asked if Dave would do his. And so we would plan on going. We were going to go in 2005. And I'm like, we'll let them do it, because that was the first year of BGCon. I'm like, we'll let them do it once and figure it out, and then we'll go the next year. And so we went the next year, and I met him at that con. And so we got to be really close with those guys. Yeah, Scott Alden, yes, and Dirk. And we got close to them. And so then in 2008 or 9, they asked if we wanted to go to Spiel, because it was going to be the first time for them to go to a convention, because they buy all the new games at those conventions. And so then at that fair, we thought, well, let's have a webcam, right? A webcam streaming. That was like, this was 2009. And we immediately, so we had a friend, a designer we know, Freedom and Friesa, who did Power Grid and stuff like that. He was showing us his game. And Scott just messaged me.
Where's the interview?
Okay. Anyway, let me type him. Anyway, so we started. I said, "Why don't you show us this game?" And so that we'll put it on the YouTube. We'll put it on the BGG page when it's all done, and show us the game on the stream, and people know how it works. And then a light went off, and the guys went around and got everybody booked to come show the games. And so the next year it was a smaller booth, but more intense coverage with one streaming camera and one actual recording camera that was recording it, that we would later edit and stuff like that. And then the next year we went even crazier with the multi-camera, 3-camera setup, live streaming the whole event. And it just has built from there. And then I think 2013 went to Gen Con. And just before that, Scott had mentioned he likes watching video game playthroughs, where people play the whole thing. And he said, why don't you guys do a board game thing? And I just like, who is going to want to watch that? And then I think it was April, Tabletop came out, and Scott loved it, but he was disappointed because it wasn't really playing a full game, right? He wants to see, there are people that want to watch that. And so that summer we went to, I think when we were going to Gen Con, but because I think that couldn't have been Gen Con. We didn't go to Gen Con that year. So we were out to visit him, and we said, well, I think we're going to do this. And so we started shooting in like September of 2012. And then it just has grown from there. So that was the first thing we did, and we regularly did it every 2 weeks. And then we pushed it to, once we just started having too many games, we started to push it to every week. And then we hope to introduce Game Night, Date Night as an extra show that would cover other things, because we really like 2-player games that just don't get a lot of attention. Although in the last year, of course, things have changed. And then we just keep adding other things. We've got a bunch of good shows. We've got Candace Harris doing an interview show with game designers. It's changing its name. We found out Candace, I let Candace kind of spearhead the thing and helped her technologically through it all. And she picked a name that a couple people have similar names. And so we're going to change it, but it was Board Game Breakdown. And she interviewed Elizabeth Hargrave about designing Wingspan. And it was pretty amazing. Let me message Scott here. Anyway, you can talk for a second. I'm sorry, Nick B. I'm talking anyway.
That's you, though. You're
I know.
The talker.
I'm the blabbermouth.
That's okay.
Then, so Lincoln didn't say during all of this before stuff, this was his hobby and for fun, and was not doing it. Was not hired by Board Game Geek until like 2 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah,
3 years ago. So all of that spiel and Essen was happening on our vacation time and stuff
absolutely.
like that. So,
conventions always out.
Convention, vacation. What else? You got other stuff in the can. You got the Brothers Murph stuff.
Oh yeah, we've been working with the Brothers Murph, and we actually introduced in late 2019 some new basically products for BGG that show a quick overview, and its home is on the BGG page on YouTube, so it gets quite a bit of exposure. And we do some where we pay for them, BGG does, because we also have our geek store, Board Game Geek store, that has lots of great board game upgrades and things like that. So we'll feature some of those things, but the publishers can pay for them, and it gives them an opportunity to have a well-produced video that explains the game in a quick and concise and pretty good looking manner. The Brothers Murph are really great. They took my direction and ran with it, which is really great. I love it. And that's what was the sad thing is we had just the last end of 2019, we met all these people in Southern California, because I never had time to go to any of the conventions here. and we met all these people, and we were so excited to actually start having them come in. That's how we met Candace, and started having them come into the studio, and then it's just all shut down. We haven't seen our friend Jackie Fox since August or September of 2019, because we were just so busy with holidays and conventions, and then starting things up, and then everything shut down. So it's just been weird. I mean, we're still able to be creative and do new stuff, but it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets a lot of the ideas, and then I do the.
Oh yeah,
they want graphics.
Yeah, Nikki's an animator, so
I mean, do the intros for the.
Yeah, she used to do a lot of animation, but she now works for a publisher.
Right.
And so yeah, she does all the animated intros that we do, which is great. Lots of good stuff.
That's cool. So what were the games that got you excited about board games? Like, because obviously now, like, this is what you do. This is your livelihood.
Thankfully, we can still get excited. I mean, that's what's
obviously. I mean, there's so much out there.
Our game night show is still the same thing it's always been. It's just what we're excited about. We don't do they're not paid for. We just feature games we're excited about. And we do take suggestions for sure. Publishers are more so a little bit more now. I think the publishers are struggling a little bit to get attention for the new releases, but we still I just say, well, we'll look at it. If we like it, what we might feature it. But that's been the joy one. It's just because Scott has he's a real omnivore for board games, but he definitely has similar taste to us. And so he wants to see everything. That's why he loves whole playthroughs and stuff. He likes to see it all. And so, so we definitely lean on him a little bit for what's the new things. Like he's been going crazy for the new Stardew Valley board game, which sold out like in a day or whatever, 20,000 copies. So he did buy, as usual, several copies. So he's going to send one to us to try to do a game night of. But I've never played Stardew Valley, but I've watched plenty of people on Twitch play it, and it's really fun to watch. So I'm intrigued to see how it will go for board game for the board game version. But he's enjoying it, and people like the chaos of it and stuff like that. So it should be fun. But the game that really, like I said, Catan was the game that first got us into the truly modern board. It was like, I don't think we played, because we played when we were doing the board game night, we played a lot of American,
Risk.
Risk and things like that. Although Risk is not American, but
you went crazy buying all of the
the James Ernest
the big long one.
You're talking about Supremacy?
Supremacy.
Yeah. Supremacy was like the Risk on steroids.
Yes.
And and we got really into that. And then of course, like I said, we got into video games, land gaming. But then when we got back to board games, we were jumped in deep into the Euro style board games. And there was there's still tons and tons of great stuff, but now it has shifted. I mean, basically Europe was the center for the most interesting game design for a while there. And it is now just the entire world. There's so many great things coming out from everywhere. Yeah. And we can barely keep up with it. I mean, there's a lot of folks talking about, made a list of things I wanted to talk about if we had the time. And it's mostly smaller things, because I that's the stuff that I feel plenty of people know that Frosthaven's coming, and I'm excited about it too. But there's tons of little stuff out there that is just so great, and you just don't hear about it. But that one was big for us, and Ticket to Ride, as I mentioned, was really great. And Power Grid was one of the Power Grid was like the first
really serious heavy. Yeah,
it's too much, a little too mathy for Nikki, but still pretty awesome. Well, I know you get frustrated with all the math. It's definitely a lot.
It's heavy.
You're sitting there. Okay, how much is this power plant worth? It's an auction game, so you're like the whole time you're just agonizing on, am I going to spend too much? And I've gotten way looser in the years since, where I just play. I mean, I try to play as best I can, but I'm just loose. You know what I mean? As loose as I can, because it's more about the experience and the people that we're with than the game itself. You have to try to win, but I don't freak out if I don't win. So
right.
Carcassonne was the other.
Oh yeah, Carcassonne. Well, Nikki loves tile-laying games. How could I miss Carcassonne?
I don't know.
Well, what are some of those littler games that you, like you said, don't get a lot of attention that people might be interested in?
A few years ago, Keymaster Games put out a game called Caper, and it was a 2-player game. And I was at the time, it was 2018. I'm like, oh, well, 2-player game. I mean, I'll make a note of that. We might get back to that if we ever get to the 2-player show. They are now doing a Kickstarter for Caper Europe. And it's a 2-player game that has like a Seven Wonders type drafting element where you pass the deck and you draw the card out. But the thing is you're playing them as you draft. So you kind of have to build and hope that things stick around for you to gain, to be able to make the combinations and stuff that you want to do. It's really looks interesting and the art's fantastic. And so I'm looking forward to that one. And I don't even own Caper. We didn't even buy it. So, and I think Keymaster has a lot of, they mostly do their own thing and they're not with any other publishers. So they do Kickstarters often to fund reprints and stuff like that as well. But that one is fantastic. And then another one that we played when Nikki was with another publisher is now called Platypus.
Yeah.
Have you seen the mind and code names and stuff like that, where you're communicating without communicating type stuff?
Oh, yeah.
So this one's another one where there's one person who knows the main word, and you've got like 8 nouns, essentially. So people, places, things. And then you've got a deck of adjectives. And so you have 5 in your hand all the time, and you're trying to tell people what they are, helping select what the key word is in the grid. And it's really fantastic. Phil Walker Harding's a great designer. He did Sushi Go and Sushi Roll, or is it Sushi Go Roll? I don't know. Anyway, because there's so many sushi games, but he's done several of those. He did Barron Park a few years ago, which is a great polyomino, making a amusement park game. And one game we really love of his called Gizmos from Simon, and he's just a great, interesting designer that does generally smaller games that end up sometimes being produced pretty gloriously, like Gizmos. But that one's really exciting. That one's going to be coming from I think it's Grail Games / Matago. And then the other one, actually one that I'm dying for, which is not a small game. It's called Dodo. I saw it last year at Spielwarenmesse in Nuremberg, and it's a kids game, but it has this pyramid, like this mountainside that you're building these ramps on, but it's real time, and it's you have to roll dice to be able to do the things that you want to do. The whole time you have this dodo egg that you can't let crash because it's a dodo, it's the last one or something like that. And the way it works is it's this ramps going around this mountain downward, and this egg moves really slowly and speeds up and slows down. It's this I now know how it works, and I'm kind of sad I looked it up, but it's amazing. And the first time we saw it, our eyes are like, what is going on? And so I don't think they're going to release it in the United States. It's from Cosmos, and it was designed by Mario Teubner. Is that right? Gosh, let me look it up. Marco Teubner. Yeah. The kids game guy, and another designer. And I hope that it will be able to be gettable, because they delayed its release because of COVID and all that stuff. So, right. But it's not even, I buy some stuff from Amazon DE and from Philibert, and it's not on any of those right now. So, and I talked to the US guy, and he doesn't, kids games aren't really big here, which is unfortunate, because there's some every year in July, we cover the SDJ nominated games, which is, the kids games, the family games, and the connoisseur games. And so we play all those, and we have so much fun playing those kids games, because nobody knows really anything about them generally, unless it's really turned into a hit. And it's a little sad, because it's really great. But that one will be fun. And then there's another one that
another kids?
No. Transmissions from Adam West.
That seems interesting.
Yeah, it's a robot game that you're moving around this mandala, and you're trying to gain parts and energy to upgrade your robot. But he's also doing good things like doing piping network and
fixing things.
Yes, so it's kind of like a green idea game that seems like a lot of fun. Adam's done a lot of great interesting games over the last few years, and we see him when we go to Origins. So I think he's semi-local to Columbus, so it's good to see him. He's great.
So Yeah, go ahead, Genevieve.
I was just gonna say, you have all these games. My question is, where do you store them?
Yeah,
Tell us the tips, tell us the tricks.
We use a lot of those gorilla racks from Costco.
They're
not, I don't think they call them gorilla anymore. They're
like
something with a W.
Kitchens, like the industrial kitchen.
So yeah, they're pretty heavy. And the newest ones, I didn't even realize they changed the size. I was buying because we had to expand our storage. And the newest ones will actually hold the big size boxes from most publishers like Cosmos and Days of Wonder. Yeah. And so we can cram a lot on there. But the real issue is I now have to establish, so I also have a lot of t-shirts. I'm a total crazy person.
Yes.
And music. And
I'm the same. Yeah, I feel you.
So it's hundreds of t-shirts. And I have now decided that there's absolutely a one in, one out policy.
Yep.
And there has to be with the games. We will be sent. So we had a bunch of games sent to us from after Spiel in November of 2019. And, we barely got to we played some of those. We played quite as many as we could that would be good with two players in the studio. But we haven't played anything with anybody else. So we'll probably send some of that back because we have a big library in Dallas that supports our Board Game Geek Con in November and in May. And so that'll help us reduce it. But we have nearly like 3,500 to 4,000 games, and it's bad. So we have a guest room. Anybody goes into that room, it's filled with toys and games. Game room. And so, and then we have the studio has about 50% of it is storage for games. And it has to stop. It's really bad.
And the thing is, it's not gonna stop because new things are gonna keep coming out, and then you've got the old things you still want to play. And
well, that's the reality. I'm wondering more and more how much we're gonna get, because we actually love to play games again, but how often do we get to return to them? It's been a little bit more so. We've played more games more often because we will play them on the live stream often before we film it, just to like work out the kinks. And that's worked out pretty great. And we want to get back to them. I mean, there's tons of them. We've, for example, like Sleeping Gods. I would love to get back to that one. But I know. Well, we played this week's episode is going to be Rajahs of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers, which is basically a roll and write version of a bigger game that was done by Inca and Marcus Brand. Really great husband and wife designer team. And we've never played the base game. I own it. It's one of those things. I've had it for 3 years or 2 years. Never played it. And Scott, every time I mention it, Scott's like, "You haven't played it?" I'm like, "I know." But we played the dice game and loved it. We've already played it like 3 times. So that's fun. And it's nice to have those little teeny ones that aren't going to take, because we have so many games coming through. One of our guys in our group, Dave Arnott, is a fantastic. I mean, we have 3 fantastic rules explainers. We have Dave Arnott, Aaron Kapaki, and Rusty Howell. And they both are just, Rusty has to work for it. He's not as good as Dave, but Dave can sit there with the rule book before you play and totally absorb it and then teach you the game. He's just amazing. And he remembers. It's insane how many games he remembers how to play. I'll have played it a month ago and I'll have to look it back up because I just don't remember every element of it. And those guys are just phenomenal. So it's nice to be able to play somewhere I can just jump in and we don't spend 15, 20, 30 minutes reading the rules again to just get it absorbed one more time. But
skill, if I jump from video game to video game, that
you start to
that's already a challenge for me, and there's only like 10 buttons on a controller. So
it's weird though, how all that stuff, it becomes like sort of muscle memory, and when you shift it to something else, you're not doing exactly the same thing, and it doesn't necessarily carry over between game to game. So
it's are different. It just something up here just doesn't work right. So what you're telling me is you have thousands of games, so you obviously now are experts at putting the games perfectly back in the box as the factory.
As best we can. We also actually expansions, we just usually pull out the inserts and then put the expansions in the game. So as much as we can do that, we do that. And so BGG actually has some great tools with their private information. And so we have to actually locate where every shelf has a number and a letter.
Yes.
And we have to actually locate where every shelf has a number and a letter. And so we have to do that. I would spend, spending more than 10 minutes looking for a game is a tremendous waste of time. And it's usually much worse than that when you're looking for something. I'm like, where did I see that last? So we just went through and cataloged the entire collection.
Right.
And it really worked out.
Wow.
You have a library of games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
BGG,
Well, you have to. Yeah.
The BGG library is like that too. They have 6,000 games in the active collection, and then they have a ton of games in the archive. And then Scott has a crazy collection. I mean, the original BGG library was his game collection.
Yeah.
And then he got rid of it, went all into storage, and then he had no games at home. So then he built another gigantic collection that was easily as big as the one I have now. And then he just moved to a new home, and they weren't going to have as many games. Yeah. And so he put most of that stuff, kept some things. And then he also backs a lot of Kickstarters as well. And they're all building up again. And he wants to play all those games. So now he's got more store. He goes through a crazy cycle. So, but it's fun to see how he deals with it, because they don't want to have the clutter right in the visible areas. So they actually I think they have the right idea. I always dream of having that Japanese aesthetic where there's barely any stuff visible.
When you're a collector too.
No,
well,
it's bad.
though.
It's really hard. It's really, when you're a creator or a collector, space is.
My Japanese aesthetic borders more on otaku rather than.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that's us for sure too. And Scott.
Kind of little anime girl statues, just like 10 little anime girls right behind me right now.
Right.
But that's the thing. That stuff brings you joy, right? Of course, I don't sign up for the Marie Kondo thing at all. You don't. I mean, just looking at it from moment it's hard to. I totally understand. I don't know that I have the emotional attachment, but I definitely have. I like it type of a thing. Nikki and I are art people, so we have art books around. I mean, that's another thing we have too many of.
Art books.
Yeah, and but I love it. I mean, I like to be able to sit down and, Nikki always is laughing at me as I get a new book and I've got this gigantic book in my lap, pouring through it and reading about it. Yeah. And it's really, if it gives you joy, who cares? It's just, you have to the morbid thing I think of now is like, oh, what would Nikki have to do? I know, but like, what is she going to have to do to deal with this when I'm gone? So we're getting more and more, a little bit more realistic about it. Like, I got to slow down on that. Do I really need that DVD or that Blu-ray? Am I going to be able to watch it more than another once or twice before I'm gone? Who knows?
Put it in your shopping cart and then come back to it a couple hours later.
I do that all the time.
I've definitely done that.
Do I still need it? No.
Yeah.
Even just a second, like I'll sit there hovering. Okay, do I really like that? Do I want that shirt? The last shirts I bought two for Nikki and me, and bought the exact same shirt, but it was cute, so I couldn't resist. But
oh my gosh,
so much money doing that exact thing. Just like put it in your cart. If you come back to it later and you're still on it.
A lot of the good thing about the t-shirts, the t-shirt things that I go to, they're 24 hours. So if I don't get it, particularly T-Villain does not carry stuff afterwards. And so very little. And so if I don't buy it then, I'm like, well, I missed out. And sometimes I miss out even then. It's like, because right now they're not producing as many shirts. So it's like, oh, well, do I really need it?
Yeah. Well, and it's like, when if you reach max, can you reach max capacity with graphic tees? I'm just asking for a friend.
We just redid our bedroom, and I'm at max capacity. So it is way too many. I'm literally nearly 400 t-shirts, and
that's more than I have.
I still come back to the same shirts a lot too, which I'm trying to like dig out. Okay, and now it's way better, so I can see stuff better and figure that out. But it's pretty embarrassing, so I need to give them away to a charity or something. Wow. But it's bad. But it is one in, one out now. There's no more of that.
Yeah, I'll believe it when it happens.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
We're drawers don't close anymore.
Right.
Yes.
That's your sign.
I don't actually close my closet doors.
Well,
they're open all the time.
I'm into those hockey jerseys from Geeky Jerseys, and I've got like nearly 40 of those, and those are not cheap. And you're in California too. It's too warm to wear hockey jerseys that much, 50% of the year. So it's a silly thing to get into, but I just love them. They're
Right.
because they're total pop culture smash up kind of things, and they're really great. But they're expensive, and I shouldn't buy them anymore. Darn it, I love them.
Yeah. Well, real quick before we have to sign off here, do you have anything you want to shout out? Anything coming up that you're really excited about? Let people know where they can find you, all those cool things.
Sure. Well, Nikki wanted to mention she's very excited about Nidavellir.
I am.
Publisher she works for. It's a new game. It's actually came out last year, but it's finally come out in the US. It's great. And then
I cannot wait.
You can see us on our Twitch channel, Board Game Geek TV, I think is the name of it. And then we also have our YouTube channel, which is Board Game Geek on YouTube. And then of course our website. And then I'm on Twitter at Hecubus Twit, and Nikki's at Chili Bean NP. Yeah, Chili Bean NP. So that's mostly where I post stuff nowadays. And it's mostly related to just things that we want people to see other than that.
Right. Yeah.
And occasional cute things.
Because we need more cute things.
Oh my gosh. That's Nikki's. She's definitely I find something great and I can paste it to her and she can be something funny too.
Usually animals doing really dumb things. And I found this thread, whatever channel on Reddit, and it's animals being derps or something. And oh my God, it's not the animals being mean, it's the animals being derps. So it's animals just doing really dumb things. And I don't know, I'm hooked. Signed up for look at it every morning. It makes me happy. And then I start my day.
The thing that you out of bed.
Real quick, Nikki, what do you collect? Because we've heard t-shirts and what are
anime tattoos.
I'm truly the collector, but
I collect playing cards.
Okay.
So I have a huge collections of playing cards and tarot cards.
She's also a good crafter. She does a lot. She's into crochet now, so she's doing lots of crochet. She rolls her eyes, but it's great. She actually fixed my headphones for me here.
I feel like a little old lady, but I am enjoying
the little the fake vinyl, the fake leather was peeling off, so she crocheted me this for my headband, which is great.
I tried to crochet for a long time and always was like, forget it, throw it across the room, but it finally clicked a few years ago, so now I
told her, I'm like, you got to just keep doing it, or you're not going to get good at it.
Hey, look, I couldn't do a French braid, and this is embarrassing, until just this year. So, and
you had the time to do it.
It happens.
I had the time to do it. I am almost 30, and I didn't know how to French braid.
That's a win. That's one of the wins for COVID.
Do your bliss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do your bliss.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you on the show. Obviously, everyone in chat, please check out everything that Board Game Geek is doing. Follow their social medias, their Twitch, their YouTube. Check out their website for all the amazing content. We have some really exciting stuff today. Genevieve, we've got a giveaway.
We got a giveaway like we do every week. This week's giveaway, however, is something pretty freaking cool. We are giving away a D&D book of your choice, hard copy, and that again is a D&D book of your choice in hard copy. And how you can sign up to enter the raffle is to type in code ! as in !geek in the chat. So that's !geek. Put it in the chat now. Please wait to the beginnings of the Realms of Ukador to hear the winner being announced, and also watch the Realms of Ukador because it's awesome.
Yes, it's an amazing show. We've been debuting Tailspire. So if you've not seen Tailspire in action, check out Realms tonight. It's pretty epic. Starts in 30 minutes. And we are doing a fan art contest as well here at Fabled 42. So all you have to do is submit a piece of artwork. You can do one per any of our show. It can be a character from the show. It can be a scene from any of the shows. Please make sure it's PG-13, safe for work. The submissions are due by April 16th. We're going to announce the winner during FableCon on April 19th. So email your fan art to art@fabled42.com. I will pop that in the chat. And so we're going to be doing giveaways for the top 3 winners with prizes prizes up to like $300. So we know there are some amazing artists in this community. So please show your Fabled 42 love and send us some of your amazing fan art. We can't wait to see it and share it. Yeah. And thanks again, everyone, for joining us here on the rollout. We have had a great time today. And
yes.
we'll
And
all see you
also
next week.
I would be remiss if I didn't remind
Yes.
y'all that we upload every Friday to YouTube. That is on the Fabled 42 Network YouTube channel. We also have the entire library of the rollout on there, along with our live streams. So please check that out.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to our guests. We loved having you on. So let's give a little wave and we'll see you next
Hi,
week.
everybody. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.